Welcome, witches, wizards, and muggles alike, to another enchanting episode of Magical Tales from the Slytherin Common Room, bringing your favorite Harry Potter fanfiction to audio format. So sit back, relax, and lock your headphones and let the magic begin. Weddings and a Manhunt by Deydralinne, Chapter 3, August 2nd, 2003. As it turned out, Blaise wasn't much help either. Theo had apparently locked him in the bathroom until he could calm down, but he had very little memory of anything other than Theo shouting through the door that Draco and Hermione had gotten married, and suddenly the birds had appeared to put him in a better mood. Unfortunately for Theo, they hadn't seemed to have done that, because he had ended up with a second punch to the face before Hermione opened the door to check what birds he was talking about. She shut the door again quickly and shook her head in shock. "Those are penguins," she had announced, like it meant something to the rest of them. "Did you two honestly get married?" Blaise eyed them as he held a bottle of cold water against his now swollen knuckles. "They sure did. The ceremony was beautiful too. It's a shame you missed it. Hermione has a thing that you can watch it on, though." Theo chirped with a smile despite holding his own bottle of cold water against his face. Blaise looked positively ready to kill him. "Penguins belong in a zoo. Does anyone remember going to a zoo last night?" Hermione asked, seemingly to no one because no one answered her and she didn't seem to be listening anyway. She had moved on to searching the drawers of the bedside tables. "You know your mother is going to kill you, right?" Blaise raised an eyebrow at him. "We are hoping to rectify this unfortunate incident rather quickly and quietly, and preferably without her ever finding out," Draco groaned. The way Blaise was staring at him now in disbelief was filling him with dread again. "You're an idiot," he finally threw out. Theo snorted in the corner. "That's twice in less than 3 hours he's been told that." He remained seemingly unfazed when Draco and Blaise glared his way. "What do you mean?" Draco asked. "Even if it occurs in the Muggle world, marriages are binding between witches and wizards. There's a reason this type of thing doesn't happen in our world." "What?" Hermione screeched, apparently having caught the conversation and turned to stare at Blaise with wild eyes, the color draining from her face. "Wait, please tell me you aren't saying this is permanent." Draco felt his chest tightening. "Well, I don't know that it's permanent, but it might be incredibly difficult to get out of. It definitely won't be quick or quiet, at the very least. The only case I know of the dissolution of a marriage in the wizarding world had to go before a council for voting. Did you two seriously not think this through? The two most responsible overthinkers I have ever known didn't even do a little research before jumping off the deep end." Blaise threw his arms out beside him. "I can't say I recall," Draco said through gritted teeth. "Where's Gregory anyway?" Blaise looked around. Theo, Draco, and Hermione looked at each other in uncertain silence for a minute before Blaise clicked on. "You fucking lost him!" "To be fair, Zabini, we also lost you, but we got there in the end," Hermione retorted, turning back to the drawers. "Well, that's fucking fantastic, Granger. Gold star on your detective skills," Blaise snapped in her direction. While she didn't appear bothered by his mood, it mildly irked Draco. "Oi, watch it," he growled. Blaise snorted at him in disbelief. "She is the reason we managed to track you down at all. None of us know what the hell to do here," Draco reasoned. "Can I just point out that it's Malfoy now, not Granger?" Theo piped up from the corner. The three of them turned to glare at him again. "No, it's definitely still Granger. Regardless of how difficult it is to end this, I have no interest in changing my name to Malfoy," Hermione hissed. "Idiots," Blaise snapped, falling into the armchair. "Excuse me?" Hermione glared his way, clearly growing tired of the man's attitude. Draco sighed. He might as well get this over with now. In the wizarding world, it isn't an option. It's automatic. For all legal accounts and purposes, you are technically a Malfoy, no matter how temporarily. Draco groaned. A sudden realization hit him that Hermione had also probably already appeared on the Malfoy family tree. Merlin, please don't let his mother go into the study anytime soon. "That's archaic," Hermione exclaimed in horror. "That's tradition," Blaise mumbled, rubbing his temples. "I don't know if this helps anyone, but I found a map. It's small and has funny-looking pictures on it." Theo held out a folded piece of paper Hermione was already rushing forward to examine. "It's a map of the zoo," she cried out. A frown quickly replaced with what little joy had been on her face. "What?" Draco snapped. She met his eyes with uncertainty. "Well, we can't exactly turn up with 4 stolen penguins and say, 'Hey guys, Here's the birds that were in a secured enclosure this idiot thought would be a good idea to borrow them for the night. Can we?" She jabbed her thumb in Theo's direction. Theo suddenly sat up, feigning offense. "Hey, you don't even know that it was my idea. It might have been your idea." He was faced with three faces staring back at him with expressions that clearly said, "Are you fucking serious?" "Well, we don't know. It might have been." Hermione rolled her eyes and turned back to Draco and Blaise. "I suppose we could try transfiguring them into stuffed toys or something, sneak them in that way, and hope we find an opportunity to levitate them into the enclosure without breaking the statute of secrecy and getting caught. Unless anyone has any better ideas." The zoo was crowded and surrounded by what appeared to be Muggle reporters interviewing a man in a uniform matching the zoo behind him. The four of them stopped dead. "Somehow, I think they know," Theo whispered. In front of them, the Muggle man addressed the crowd. "Despite the crew's attempts to locate the missing penguins, they have yet to be recovered. What is even more puzzling is the additional fully grown gorilla of which we currently have no information on. If the penguins are not located by the end of the day, we will look into offering a reward for this information. Thank you." The four of them looked at each other. "We may need to come up with a plan B," Hermione mumbled and led the way. Draco found that at the moment that he was extra thankful to her to have her expertise on the matter, because there was no way he could have handled the Muggle transaction of buying the tickets with such fluidity as she did. He immediately cursed himself for the thought. The three men followed her distractedly as she led them through the many walkways. The smells were not pleasant. The creatures were weird-looking and weird-sounding. There were also far too many people and most definitely far too many small children complaining far too loudly. Hermione came to a stop not far from an enclosure that had several more of the birds they had found in the bathroom at the hotel. Unfortunately for them, there were also hordes of people around, which meant that it was going to be impossible to sneak the penguins back in with the others at the very least. Hermione pulled them behind a large bush in the gardens. They were all crouched, looking at each other with a type of "what now" look. "All right, here's my thoughts," Theo offered. Draco was about to make a remark about how no one wanted his thoughts, but Theo carried on before he had a chance. "We cast a Notice Me Not charm, turn the penguins back here, and sneak away. Eventually, someone will spot them, catch them, and return them to the cage, right?" Actually seemed to be a not-so-bad idea, so that's exactly what they did several minutes later when they failed to come up with an alternative. "All right, so now where do we go?" Blaise looked to Hermione expectantly. He seemed to have realized they were indeed very much out of their element. "You heard the zoo owner mention the extra gorilla, right? I think we should probably head there next. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that it probably has, or rather is, Gregory." She looked sheepishly between the three of them. Of course, Theodore thought that was hilarious and burst out laughing. Two guesses who would have been responsible if it turned out that it was indeed the case. It turned out that was exactly the case. Gorilla Gregory was aggressively happy to see their little group when they arrived at the enclosure. "All right, how do you suppose we get him out without being seen?" Blaise eyed the crowds of Muggles passing by the area. They stood there, unsure of what to do next for what felt like hours. In reality, it probably wasn't that long at all, but everyone was growing tired, and it really had been quite a day so far, Draco reasoned. Gorilla Gregory was growing rather impatient too and banged on the glass at one point rather aggressively. Hermione nearly jumped out of her skin. "I have an idea," she whispered. Discreetly, she began casting Notice Me Not charms that slowly but surely steered the Muggles away from the area. When finally the last Muggle left their sight, she configured a door in the glass of the enclosure through which Gregory burst through. The door disappeared, but now they were stuck with a Gorilla Gregory standing next to them. "Quick, before someone comes along," Blaise hissed. "Repair-forge," Hermione whispered. Gorilla Gregory slowly morphed back to regular Gregory, much to his relief, and just in time, because not a moment later another Muggle wandered around the corner towards them. Gregory glared at Draco, Hermione, and Theo. "What the hell took you guys so long? One of the gorillas wanted me as its mate." Even Blaise joined them when they all burst into laughter.